MIA sat at the wrong table. She didn't know that yet. The restaurant was the kind of place that made her feel like she'd borrowed someone else's life for the night. Soft lighting, white tablecloths, wine glasses that caught the light like small fires. She'd only agreed to the blind date because her friend Dana had guilt-tripped her for 45 minutes straight, and honestly, she hadn't had a real night out in 8 months. She spotted the table Dana had described, corner, near the window, small candle, and slid into the chair across from the man already sitting there. He looked up from his phone. She smiled. "Sorry I'm late. The subway was a disaster." He didn't say anything right away. He just looked at her, the way people look when they're trying to decide if something is real. "I'm Mia." "I know you're not who I'm waiting for," he said. Not unkind. Just honest. She blinked. "Excuse me." "I'm waiting for someone. A business associate." Mia looked around. The hostess was nowhere near them. The table number. She checked the small brass plate near the candle. 7. Dana had said table 17. Oh God. She pressed her hand over her mouth. "I'm so sorry. I thought, my friend said corner table, window." "There are 2 corner tables near windows," he said. "I see that now." She started to gather her bag, her jacket, her dignity, mostly her dignity. "I'm mortified. I'll just." "You don't have to run." She stopped. He had the kind of face that was hard to read. Not cold, exactly. More like someone who'd learned to keep everything slightly behind glass. Dark hair, a little longer than corporate. A watch she didn't recognize, but that looked expensive in the quiet way expensive things do when they're not trying to prove anything. "Sit for a minute," he said. "My associate is 20 minutes late. You look like you need to recover." "I look like I need to recover." From the embarrassment. "Yes." She laughed before she could stop herself. It was so blunt it looped back around to charming. She sat back down. "I'm Mia," she said again. "You mentioned that. You didn't offer your name." He considered this like it was a real decision. "Cole." "Just Cole." "For now." The waiter appeared, glanced between them, and asked if they were ready to order drinks. Cole looked at Mia. Mia looked at the menu she hadn't opened. "Whatever you recommend," she told the waiter. "Surprise me." Cole watched her. "You do that a lot. Let people choose for you." "Only when I trust the room." She glanced around. "This place feels trustworthy." "It's not bad," he said. "You don't like it." "I've had better." That sounds like a deeply sad way to experience restaurants. Something shifted in his expression. Almost a smile. "Not quite. How do you experience them?" "I work double shifts at a diner on Amsterdam Avenue," she said. "So places like this feel like a little miracle. I try not to get used to them. Keeps it special." He was quiet for a moment. The waiter returned with something sparkling and cold and vaguely floral. Mia took a sip and made a face. Not a bad face, a surprised one. "Elderflower," she said. "That's not what I expected." "What did you expect?" "Something safer. I like it though." Cole's associate never showed. He didn't seem bothered. He checked his phone once, replied to something, and set it face down on the table in a way that felt like a choice. They talked. Not the way strangers usually do, not the resume exchange, not the careful navigation of safe topics. He asked her actual questions. Not flattering ones. Challenging ones. He asked her what she wanted out of her life, and when she laughed and said that was an intense second question, he said he didn't see the point of working up to it slowly. She told him she was finishing her nursing program at night. That she had 18 more months. That she'd started 4 years ago and had to stop twice. Once when her mom got sick, once when the money ran out. That she wasn't ashamed of that, exactly, but sometimes she felt the weight of how long it was taking pressing against her ribs when she was trying to sleep. He listened. Not politely. Actually listened. "Why nursing?" he asked. "Because when my mom was in the hospital, most of the doctors barely looked at her. The nurses were the ones who made her feel like a person. I want to do that." He nodded. Said nothing. But his eyes stayed on her, and she got the sense that what she'd said had landed somewhere real. She asked about him. He was careful. Said he worked in finance. Said it the way people say they work in finance when they mean something much larger but don't want to make it a thing. She took him at his word. "Do you like it?" she asked. "Some days." "That's honest. You seem like someone who'd notice if I wasn't." She smiled. "I grew up with 3 brothers. I have a very finely tuned nonsense detector." The restaurant had slowly emptied around them. She hadn't noticed until the waiter mentioned, gently, that the kitchen was beginning to close. Mia looked at her phone. 2 hours had passed. "I should go," she said. "I have a shift tomorrow at 6. "In the morning." "In the morning." He stood when she stood. She hadn't expected that. She also hadn't expected that he would be as tall as he was, or that standing up would make the whole thing feel suddenly more real, less like a parenthesis in the evening. "The wrong table," she said. "I'm sorry again about that." "Don't be." She pulled her jacket on. He watched without offering to help, which she appreciated. She'd always found the performative chivalry of men helping women put on jackets slightly condescending. That he didn't do it made her notice him differently. "This was," she started. "Yes," he said. Before she finished, she laughed. "I didn't say what it was." "I know what you were going to say." "You don't know anything about me." "I know you take the subway, you're finishing nursing school, you have 3 brothers, and you think this restaurant is a miracle," he said. "And you let strangers choose your drinks." "Only when I trust the room." "You said that." "I meant it." They stood at the edge of the sidewalk. It had gotten cold while they were inside. The city was doing that thing it does at night where it hums at a frequency you can feel in your chest. "Can I call you?" he asked. She studied him for a moment. The quiet watch. The careful face. The way he'd listened to her talk about her mother without making it about himself. "Yeah," she said. "You can call me." She gave him her number. He didn't put it in his phone dramatically. He just looked at it once, like he was memorizing it, and nodded. She walked toward the subway. At the corner she looked back once. He was still standing there, watching her go. She turned away and smiled at nothing. At the cold air, at the strange luck of wrong tables and right timing. She had no idea who he was. She had no idea that the restaurant they'd just left was one of 11 that he owned, Cole called the next evening. Mia was still in her scrubs, standing in her kitchen eating leftover rice out of a container, when her phone lit up with an unknown number. She almost let it go to voicemail. She was exhausted in the specific way that came from 6 hours on your feet plus 3 hours of pharmacology notes, the kind of tired that lives behind your eyes and won't leave until you sleep 9 hours, which she never did. She picked up anyway. "You memorized it," she said instead of hello. "I told you I would." She set down the rice. "You didn't tell me that, actually." "I implied it." She leaned against the counter. Outside her window, Amsterdam Avenue was doing its usual Friday night thing. Horns, someone's music, a guy on the corner who sold umbrellas and philosophy in equal measure. "How was your day?" he asked. "Long." "Yours?" "Long. Finance things." "Finance things," he said. A pause. "Did you eat?" She looked at the container. "Technically." "Technically" isn't an answer. Leftover rice counts as eating. He was quiet for a moment in a way that wasn't uncomfortable. "I want to take you to dinner." "You already did that. Accidentally." "On purpose this time." She smiled at the window. "When?" "Saturday." "I work Saturday morning. I'm free by 4. I'll pick you up at 7. She almost asked where they were going. She decided against it. She'd learned something about him the other night. He didn't offer information he didn't think you needed yet, and pushing at it didn't work. You just had to wait and see what he chose to show you. 7, she said. "Okay." He picked her up in a car she didn't recognize, but that was clearly not a car you hailed. A driver. She got in and said nothing about it because she'd decided, somewhere between Friday and Saturday, that she wasn't going to perform any version of herself for him. Not the impressed version. Not the unbothered version. Just Mia, in her best jeans and the green top Dana said made her eyes look like money, which was a strange compliment, but she'd take it. He was already in the back seat. "You could have told me there'd be a driver," she said. "Would it have changed your answer?" "No, but I would have worn different shoes." He looked at her shoes. What's wrong with those? Nothing. I just would have worn different ones. He almost smiled. She was starting to collect those almost smiles like small evidence of something. The restaurant was in the West Village. Small, unmarked door, no sign outside. Inside it was warm and low and smelled like garlic and fresh bread and something darker underneath, like wood smoke. The host knew Cole's name and walked them to a table in the back without being asked. "Do you come here a lot?" she asked once they were seated. "Sometimes." "They know you?" "Yes." She picked up the menu. No prices. She noticed that immediately. The kind of place that doesn't list prices, because if you need to ask, you've already answered your own question about whether you belong here. She set the menu down. "Cole. How much does a meal here cost?" He looked at her steadily. "Does it matter?" "Not to me personally. I'm just calibrating." "Calibrating what?" "What kind of guy you are," she said. "Whether this is you trying to impress me or whether this is just Tuesday for you." He was quiet for a moment. Then, "It's closer to Tuesday." She nodded. She appreciated that. A different kind of man would have said something vague and romantic. He just told her the truth. "Okay," she said. "Then I'm ordering whatever I want." "I'd be disappointed if you didn't." She ordered the duck. He ordered the fish. They shared the bread, which she ate most of, and he didn't make a thing of it the way some men did, the watching, the commenting. He just passed her more when the basket got low. She told him about her week. A patient she'd gotten attached to, an older woman named Ruthie who'd been in for a hip replacement and had no family who came to visit. Mia had sat with her on her break twice, just talking. Ruthie had shown her pictures of a husband dead 20 years and a garden in Queens she wasn't sure she could still manage on her own. "I'm going to check on her next week even though she'll be discharged by then," Mia said. "My supervisor would probably tell me not to. Boundary issues." "But you will anyway." "Of course I will." He watched her across the table with that careful, glass behind their eyes look she was starting to understand wasn't coldness. It was something else. Attention, maybe. The real kind that had gotten quiet and turned inward. "What?" she said. "Nothing." "You're doing the thing where you look at me like you're running calculations." "I'm not calculating anything." "Then what are you doing?" He picked up his wine. "Listening." She held his gaze for a moment. Then she looked away first, which she almost never did. "Your turn," she said. "Tell me something real." "Define real." "Something you don't tell people at Tuesday dinners." He set his glass down. Outside, through the small window at the front of the restaurant, she could see the street, couples walking, a kid on a bike, the regular chaos of a Saturday night in the city. "I haven't done this in a long time," he said. "Done what?" "Sat across from someone and actually," he paused, chose the word carefully, "wanted to be there." She let that sit without filling the silence. "That's real," she said finally. "You asked." "I did." The food came. They ate. The conversation moved the way it had at the wrong table. Not linearly, not carefully. It went from her brothers to his sister, who he said he didn't see enough, to a documentary about crows she'd watched last month that had genuinely disturbed her, to whether it was possible to be lonely in a city of 8 million people, which they both agreed it was, absolutely, without question. After dinner he walked with her. No car, just the street. The air had that almost spring smell, not quite there but promising. "I want to ask you something," she said. "Okay." "And I want you to actually answer. Not the Tuesday version." "Go ahead." She stopped walking. He stopped too. They were outside a bodega, Christmas lights still up in the window even though it was March, the kind of thing that only happens in New York and somehow never looks wrong. "Are you happy?" she asked. He looked at her. The question landed on him differently than she expected. Not defensively, not dismissively. Like it reached something he kept in a room he didn't open much. "I'm working on it," he said. "That's honest." "You keep saying that." "Because you keep doing it." She started walking again. Most people aren't. He fell into step beside her. Their arms almost touched. Not quite. "Are you?" he asked. "Happy?" She thought about it seriously, the way it deserved. The double shifts, the loans, the 18 more months, Ruthie and her photographs, the rice she ate standing up, Dana guilting her into blind dates, the wrong table and the right conversation. Yeah, she said. Mostly. In the specific way you can be when things are hard but you still believe they're going somewhere. He was quiet for half a block. I think I forgot how to do that, he said. She looked at him sideways. I'll remind you. She didn't say it like a promise. She said it like a fact, the way she said everything, like she'd already decided and the world just needed a minute to catch up. He looked at her then, really looked, the glass coming down just slightly. And somewhere between the bodega lights and the not quite spring air, something shifted. Not dramatic. Not loud. Just real.